A short while ago, in a month that sounds oddly familiar, almost like October, November, or even December, Xian sat at his desk, working away at the monthly feature he produces with glee. As he typed and toiled throughout the night, a creature gave him, well, quite a fright. For it was not something with scary teeth, but a massive undertaking of new and entertaining Switch games to be released. He looked back at his backlog with dismay, for he would have no time to sit and play. Remasters and remakes, bargain bins and sequels for days. This time of year has them all, but what Xian had nearly forgotten was how quickly the holidays were coming for us all.
Well, every month we do our absolute best to bring you the most quality list of upcoming games coming to the Nintendo Switch in the following month. There's a ton of shovelware on the eShop that we always have to weed through, and usually we end up with around 10 or 12, 13 games on our list. But what I forgot was how many stinking games come out around this time of the year. So this one's a big one. I'm Xian from Nintendo Life, and today we're bringing you a look at 17 games coming to the Nintendo Switch in the month of October. This list may not have a host of haunting titles like you'd expect around this time of year, but it is full of some pretty big first, third-party, and indie titles that you'll probably want to keep your eyes on.
Remember when Tetris 99 came out and broke not only the traditions of a Battle Royale game, but also broke John Cartwright by stealing all of his free time? Well, now Mario is doing it too, with Super Mario Bros. 35, an exclusive for Nintendo Switch Online members. Super Mario 35 pits 35 players against each other to see who can be the last Mario standing on screen. As you can tell, it pulls a lot of elements from Tetris 99, like the overall on-screen format and the ability to target different groups of opponents based on who has the most coins, the fastest time, and so forth. The game is really all about collecting the most coins, defeating enemies, and just being careful and taking your time. It's similar to standard Mario, but very different at the same time. Like I said before, the game is free to play for Nintendo Switch Online users. However, the kicker is that the game is only playable until March 31st of 2021. So if you'd like to learn more about the game, we already have a slew of videos, including a tips video, a review video, and a hands-on impression already that we'll leave in the description down below. Straight up busting its way onto Switch on the first is a unique RPG that slightly reeks of gunpowder and freshly printed money. We're talking about Orangeblood, a turn-based strategy RPG starring a cast of 4 girls who prefer to live their lives on the edge.
It'd be like if the Powerpuff Girls and the Puella Magi Madoka Magica team decided to start using their skills to earn guns and money.
The story isn't really explained in the previews, but it looks like you'll be able to pick fights with thugs, can hit the tables to win some cash, and spend time exploring the rusty yet futuristic city. The game also uses a procedurally generated weapon drop system, much like Borderlands, so you can always look forward to nabbing new weapons to keep things fresh as you progress. Orangeblood may not be for everyone, but if you're a fan of the humor and style of a game like No More Heroes and enjoy the classic turn-based combat of Final Fantasy, this could turn out to be one hell of a banger. Also released on the Switch on the 1st is WARSAW, another turn-based RPG, but with a lot more at stake this time. The dark comic book art style paints the tragic yet courageous picture of what happened to the people of Warsaw, Poland back in 1944. Taking a few pages from Darkest Dungeon, you'll take control of the resistance to fight back against the Germans. We'll manage their equipment and supplies back at base, and we'll need to make tough choices to make sure your people see it through to the end. It's a dark and gritty tale, but Warsaw's developers have taken care to make this a historically accurate experience.
What's that? Ys? Ys! Ys on Switch!
Ys Origin is a hack-and-slash dungeon crawler that was originally released on PC all the way back in 2006. Now, it may not be as graphically impressive as it was back then, but it's still quite the looker. The story follows your choice of one of 3 playable characters, and surprisingly, none of them have red hair. You're tasked with scaling the Devil's Tower to enlist the help of the goddesses, and boy oh boy, are there tons of bosses in your way. Whether you're new to the series or are a veteran player, this sounds like a solid title for RPG fans. And we've actually already gone ahead and given the game the full review treatment, so we'll leave a link in the description down below for that too. Then, releasing on the 6th is the sequel we wish we would have gotten the first time around. Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 Grand Prix.
The Mario Kart competitor starring all of your favorite Nickelodeon characters, like SpongeBob from SpongeBob SquarePants, CatDog from, well, CatDog, and JoJo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
We were pretty harsh on the original when it released back in 2018, but this new title is packing in way more content than the original, boasting 30 playable characters, 20 tracks to race on in single-player modes, or offline and online multiplayer. So hopefully the devs have learned from their mistakes this time around. Now, it might be worth waiting for the review on this one, but we have to say we're pretty excited at least about the character roster. The Switch may not have nearly as many dog walking simulators as the DS,
Woof.
but it is getting the Falcon Simulator on the 8th. Falcon Age is a game all about caring for and bonding with your own feathered falcon friend. On the side, you'll both embark on missions to take down the corrupt robots that are stealing and destroying your land. Falcon Age does feature a mode in which you can skip past all the fights and just partake in the story and falcon taming sections. And for some, that sounds just peachy because, let's be real, we're all here for the cute bird anyways, aren't we? One of the more interesting titles we've put on the list this month is a brand new game from the makers of Hohokam and Willamot's Warehouse. Launching on the 8th is a game called I Am Dead, a puzzling adventure that revolves around a museum curator named Morris, whose clock has finally run out, only to find so much life still exists in the afterlife, at least for him. Morris and his ghost dog Sparky have this newfangled power that allows them to look deep inside objects and people to uncover long-forgotten memories that are still lingering. The story sounds fairly bittersweet, a lot like Spiritfarer in a way, so if you're looking for a cute story to make your heart bones quiver, this may just do the trick. Kicking itself onto Switch on the 9th is FIFA 21 Legacy Edition. You know how some people look at sports games and say things like,
Why would someone pay so much for the new Hyrule Warriors when you can get the old model for a third of the price? They only change up the characters anyways, right?
That's often not the case with most yearly sports titles. They tend to heavily update game modes, add in new features, and sometimes go all out with a brand new campaign. But not for Switch. For the past few years, FIFA on Switch has been the definition of a cash grab, rolling over identical features and modes from not just FIFA 20, but FIFA 19, which is why EA has slapped the Legacy subtitle onto the game. If you're excited for an updated team roster, a few fresh stadiums, and the sort, you'll likely be pleased with this new edition. But just know that this release is mostly a copy-paste of last year's version. Whoever said dog was man's best friend has clearly never been stranded on an island before, because in this next game, monkeys are your best friend. On the 9th, the Switch is being treated to a brand spanking new game from the makers of The Escapists, the Survivalists. As you can probably expect, the goal of the game is to survive, but there's a lot more to do on this island than just that. Up to 4 players can explore and build on a randomly generated island of their own. You can explore hidden temples, scavenge the site of a plane crash, craft new items and equipment, and much more. You can even enlist the help of the local monkeys living on the island for help fighting off enemies during dangerous missions, or to even just help with some renovations around your island. Just remember to toss them a few bananas for their service. They'll really appreciate it. Disgaea fans will be excited to hear the platforming penguin-esque characters are back in the Prinny 1-2 Exploded and Reloaded collection on the 13th. These platformers originally appeared on the PSP back in the late 2000s and haven't seen daylight since. The premise for each game is fairly insane, as per Disgaea tradition. In the first game, you're off on a mission to create the most delicious dessert for the princess, and in the sequel, you're out to get back the princess's stolen underwear from a lowly thief. Anime games, I tell you. If you fancy only picking up one or the other, each game will also be available individually on the eShop too, so don't sweat it, dude. Finally, a spooky game for a spooky time of year. Launching on the 13th is the next installment in the survival horror series Remothered, Broken Porcelain. Acting as both a prequel and a sequel, you take on the role of Jen, a young girl who was kicked out of her all-girls boarding school and is now serving time as a maid at a suspicious hotel?
And I only say suspicious because of the slightly eerie haunted figure that roams around the hotel that's ready to kill you at any moment with its giant umbrella-like bone spear.
The gameplay and themes seem like they're heavily inspired by the PS2 era of horror titles like Haunting Ground, Clock Tower, and Rule of Rose. It looks like you'll be doing a lot of scavenging for resources, digging up clues, and hiding. Lots and lots of hiding. And since the Switch isn't getting the next horror title from Bloober Team, The Medium, this might give you all the chills you need this Halloween. Now, I have never played a Jackbox game before, but I have heard that they are the literal life of the party, and the Switch is getting the latest iteration on the 15th, the Jackbox Party Pack 7. This new Jackbox Party Pack includes 5 new mini-games to play with your friends, including one called Devil and the Details, a game where you and your friends play as a family of devils who are just making the best of their boring everyday lives by destroying and burning everything. And even though no one is hosting parties right now, since the game is controlled with your phones, you can actually play with your friends online as long as the main hosting player has a way to stream gameplay from their screen. Technology, ain't it something? Racing its way onto your vinyl, laminate, and/or hardwood floors on the 16th is the new, dare I say it, Toys to Life mixed reality game, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. This new Switch title uses physical toy carts that come equipped with a built-in camera to simulate all the action of racing on a real Mario Kart track, but in your home. By placing a handful of gates around your room, your garage, the park, you could turn nearly anything into the ultimate DIY racetrack. While racing, instead of looking at your cart on the ground, you'll be able to see a cockpit view on your Switch thanks to the camera built into the cart, which is where all the magic happens. You can fire digital shells and bananas, boost with a mushroom, and can even change the level themes with fancy filters and styles. Single-player races will all take place against digital AR racers, but if you happen to have a second cart and another Switch, another player can join in on the race. It seems like it could end up being quite an expensive package in the end, but imagine playing this as a kid. I can see a kid losing their mind over this game, and sometimes you just can't put a price on that kind of excitement. But you know what? Nintendo sure can, and it adds up. But I suppose $99 for the cart, the game, and the extra little gates isn't really so bad if you already have a Switch, considering a game would normally be $60. Also arriving here in the West on the 16th is the return of the amazing mechanized animal fighting machines in Zoids Wild Blast Unleashed. Having been developed by the company most famous for creating the Bloody Roar series, the developers have turned the world of Zoids into a 1v1 3D fighter. Now there is a demo on the Japanese eShop for this that's been available for quite some time. I played it sometime last year and I really enjoyed it. I was pretty impressed with it. Combat is quick and flashy, the animations were rock solid, and it felt like the true Zoids game I always would have wanted growing up. This game is based on the new Zoids Wild anime series, which recently hit Netflix here in the States. Now as much as I would have wished for this to be based on the original series, it feels like we don't see that many exclusive fighting games hit the Switch these days, so this may be one to keep your eyes on if you're feeling out of options, or if you were just a fan of the series growing up. Then on the 23rd, the physical edition of Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the NecroDancer featuring The Legend of Zelda is hitting store shelves. This rhythmic dungeon crawler features not only the full version of the game, but also the fresh Season Pass content that was recently released, including a special story mode starring Skull Kid of Majora's Mask fame. The Season Pass also contains extra characters to play as well, like Dark Link and Zelda. And there's also a huge batch of new songs being added to the game too. So if you're like me and have held off on playing this game because you've been holding out for a physical release, well, now's your chance to finally get on it and find out what the hype is all about. finally revealing itself on the 23rd is the second half of the Pokemon Sword and Shield expansion pass, the Crown Tundra. This brand new story features a frosty new wild area to explore, a batch of returning Pokemon that didn't make the original cut, Galarian forms of legendary Pokemon, new legendaries. This new DLC has it all. And if you're one who's been waiting to pick up Sword or Shield, a physical edition is being released in the early part of November that actually contains all the DLC right on the cartridge. The price is still TBA, but if you've been holding out, it might just be worth waiting a bit longer for that instead. And finally, putting a cap on our list on the 30th of the month marks the return of Mr. Miyamoto's favorite little plant-based creatures in Pikmin 3 Deluxe. This strategy-based adventure is one of the last great games we've been waiting to see make the jump from the Wii U. You and your friends have crash-landed on a foreign planet, and with the help of the friendly Pikmin, you'll need to do everything you can to gather up parts and resources to rebuild your ship to make your mission a success. This lovable yet especially cruel title is bringing over all the DLC from the Wii U release, along with new side story missions featuring Olimar and Louie, new difficulty settings, and a host of other new features. We gave the original edition a whopping 9 out of 10 when it launched back in 2013, so minus any strange control issues or other quirks, we're really hoping this title makes a safe landing on Switch.
And there you have it, a whopping 17 games releasing on the Nintendo Switch in the month of October. Feel free to let us know in the comments down below which of these games you're most looking forward to getting your hands on, and let us know if there's anything you think we should have put on this list. I was sort of on the fence of adding the new Transformers game because it's a XCOM style turn-based RPG, and also the new G.I. Joe game because I know that there's a lot of people that love those franchises, but both of them just looked a little eh. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like this, then why don't you go ahead and spook that subscribe button into giving you a free subscription to our channel, because that's how it works. And then ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we release new videos. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm ZM from Nintendo Life. Have a safe and wonderful Halloween, and we will see you next time.